Good morning, Internet family. Happy Friday. So I've got something cool for us today. I've got more than one scripture. So I've been kind of stressed out lately. I've got a lot going on, and I am a worrywart and a control freak by nature. My human nature is to always know what's happening and to be in control of what's happening, and I have not been able to do that lately, and it's absolutely wearing me out. So I'm praying this morning about that as usual, and just asking for the Lord to speak to me, and He gives me a bunch of different stuff from different places. So I'm going to start with Job 25 and a little background on Job. Job was a very righteous man who lived for the Lord. He did nothing wrong. He was also wealthy, and Satan and God were talking about Job, and Satan wanted to test him because he believed that Job was only righteous because he was blessed, so he wanted to test him. And in Job 25 is one of the many attacks of Job's friends. And what I find interesting about these attacks is that so much of what his friends say is accurate, is truth, but it doesn't apply to that situation, or they're saying it based on an assumption that they made that they were wrong in. And this is one of those. This is one of the attacks where everything Bildad says is true, but it's not applicable to what Job is walking through in that moment. It's not valid for an attack on him. But all that's kind of irrelevant to what I'm getting at today. So Job 25 is only 6 verses long, and I'm going to read the whole thing. Bildad the Shuhite again attacked Job. God is sovereign. God is fearsome. Everything in the cosmos fits and works in His plan. Can anyone count His angel armies? Is there any place where His light doesn't shine? How can a mere mortal presume to stand up to God? How can an ordinary person pretend to be guiltless? Why, even the moon has its flaws. Even the stars aren't perfect in God's eyes. So how much less plain men and women, slugs and maggots by comparison? And as I'm reading that, it dawns on me, I don't think an attack on a person could ever be talking about God. I don't think we're using God's character the right way if we're doing that. But everything he said, though, was accurate. So when we think about, the stuff that I'm walking through right now, it's big to me because it's, important to me. And it's so big that it's weighing me down. I'm losing sleep, all this other stuff. But in all reality, when we think about it, so here we are, one little person out of however many millions of people, billions of people there are in the world, and then there's the world itself, and then there's the galaxies and all these other things, and that makes me feel a lot smaller, and that makes me feel like everything I'm walking through maybe isn't as big and as important as it feels like it is to me. Maybe I'm just being dramatic. That's not something I would normally do, right? So I love that. And the devotion I read this morning kind of broke down the Hebrew and Greek words for book and scroll and Bible, and explained how when God said that all His words about us were written, it was talking about a scroll. And with a scroll, you roll upwards. You don't get to open the pages of a book and just read ahead like you do in a book. You can only read what you're at and move up as you roll the scroll. So Psalms 139:16 says, "Your eyes saw me when I was formless. All my days were written and planned in your book before a single one of them began." Which means before we were even born, everything was already plotted out for us, was already planned out. I love that because I like to try to do that myself, but I am not God. I get carried away sometimes, and I guess that's a pride thing. It is a pride thing. Where I'm trying to be God, trying to plan my own days. James 4 something tells us, instead of saying that we're going to do something, to make a commitment to something, that we should say, if the Lord is willing, we will do this or that. And that enables us to make our own plans, but to leave room for God. So Jeremiah 29:11, I'm sure we all know this verse, at least a little. Let me get to it. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you." This is the Lord's declaration. Plans for your well-being, not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. So we can know that the Lord's plans for us are good, that he doesn't have bad plans for us. Well, how does that work though? How does that work when there's not a single person alive that doesn't walk through hard times, that doesn't go through struggles, that doesn't endure loss, that doesn't face things that seem bigger than what they're able to face? Well, that's because the Lord has plans for those. The Lord's plans go much farther, much, much farther than any given moment that we are in. Everything that I have going on in my life today is going to be fruitful in a season later on. As long as I can remain faithful and not give up, as long as I can keep doing the things that I know that he has for me to do in this season, there will be fruit in the next season. This just isn't the harvest season. That's all it is. And if we can remember to look at it like that, remember what he says in Jeremiah 29:11, that he has good plans for us, plans to prosper us and give us a future. So we know that no matter what our today looks like, that our tomorrow, and I don't mean the day tomorrow, I mean later on, it is going to be brighter, and that's going to be our harvest season. This is hard for me. This is really hard for me, even though I have walked with the Lord for over close to 5 years now, since I got sober. Since I cleaned up my life and began my journey in recovery and began my journey with the Lord. Those two went hand in hand the whole way, have been hand in hand. And I have seen him move countless mountains. I have seen him do things in my life, just miraculous things that I never would have imagined. Where I am today, just sitting here in my home that my husband and I share, with the life that I have, and the relationship with the Lord that I have, I never would have imagined any of this. And each season has been a season of either harvesting or planting. And there's been some really hard seasons. There's been some times where I was just absolutely like, I don't even know what's going on right now. This is ridiculous. And it was all what was coming to the next season. And the next season wouldn't have been possible without what I went through in the season before. And yet I still get caught up in myself. And I need these reminders like I got today about how small we are. Bildad called us maggots. I don't consider myself a maggot, but compared to the galaxies and the stars and everything else that God created, I am definitely that small or smaller. My existence, as important and valuable as it is to myself and to God and to those that care about me, it is still so unimportant in the vast scheme of how much other things there are. And that's, there's a lot of value in that too, knowing how much the Lord values us, how much he loves us, how much he pays attention to us each individually, even though he's got this vast multitude of other things going on and other people that he still pays the same amount of attention to. We're very important, but there's so much more than us. There's so much more than what we've got going on, the struggles we're going through, and what we're going to wear today, and how the schedule's going to pan out for today and for over the weekend. These are the things that I'm stressed about because I've filled my plate too full with all this stuff already going on, and and then when I really think about it, I'm just like, girl, chill. God's already got all this figured out. He already knows what tomorrow looks like. He already knows what 5 years from now looks like. He already knows all the things. He already has my trip overseas planned. He already has, all the bills paid for. He has everything taken care of. He has everything worked out at the ministry. He has girls coming. He has all of this stuff. He has all of these things that are in my brain already worked out. All we need to do is stay faithful to him. And in the meantime, we can't change his plan. This is the important part that I have to remind myself quite frequently. I cannot change God's plan. Neither can you. We cannot do anything to mess it up. We cannot do anything to make it better. It's already good. It's already as good as it can be. But what we can do, however, is we can miss the moments. We can miss the joy and the peace and the rest that he has for us in the in-between. In the moments where we're waiting for harvest, in the moments where we're just working. Where are our thoughts? What is the condition of our hearts? How are we feeling? Are we enjoying our life? Because even though the harvest is later, that doesn't mean today has to be any less joyful than that. That doesn't mean that today has to be any more stressful. That doesn't mean we just work ourselves to the bone and don't enjoy our lives. It means that we can hope and we can have faith. And in that, we can have the joy of the Lord, which gives us strength. And we can wait. And we can wait expectantly, knowing that we have a God that loves us, who has plans to prosper us, who has plans for our future. So we can keep doing what he needs us to do, what he wants us to do, and we can enjoy doing it. We can enjoy our lives. We can enjoy ourselves and the people he's put in our lives. We can enjoy everything, knowing that he's already got it worked out, knowing that he's already made a way, knowing that he's faithful, knowing that he is faithful. We can rest in that. That doesn't make our hard seasons any less hard. That doesn't make the stresses of life any less heavy. And that doesn't mean that we just get to sit around and wait for his plans to unfold for us. We still have to do the work. But while we're doing the work, we don't have to lose sight of the fact of who we're doing it for loves us. Who we're doing it for is pleased with us. And who we're doing it for, everything that he does is for his children and for his glory. And it's important to remember for me too that, when I get stuck on myself, when I get stuck in the stresses of things and I start focusing on myself, it's important for me to remember that nothing that is about me is actually even about me. There's not really a whole lot that's about me in the first place, but the things that are still aren't, because what it's really about is the purpose that God has for me and the way that he's designed everything that happens in each of our individual lives and inside of each of us is to be poured back out into others for his kingdom, for his glory. So I feel like I rambled a little bit. I rattled off a whole lot of scripture. I was all over the place, but that's kind of where my brain's at today. And I just hope that someone else can grab a hold of what I'm grabbing a hold of this morning. And I'm just praying that I can keep a hold of this. It's 2025. Everybody's stressed out. But we don't have to be that way. We do not have to be that way. No matter what our lives hold, no matter what tomorrow holds or yesterday held, we can rest and we can have joy knowing that our Father loves us and that he's going to prosper us. You guys have a fantastic Friday, and I hope you guys have an amazing weekend.